Hello, this is Anna, the facilitator of idtalks. And in 2023, SALTO Inclusion and Diversity Resource Center has partnered with the network of national agencies, mental health and youth work project to contribute to youth mental health and well-being, as well as to highlight the importance of youth workers' role in young people's well-being. So we brought together 10 ID talks on mental health in youth work and dedicated this whole year to mental health in youth work, with spring talks that were under the motto of understanding mental health, and the autumn talks now focusing on discovering different interesting mental health practices. Today is the 5th talk of this season, which means the last one for 2023, and we are even more excited to have so many of you back with us. And then today we are going to talk about solutions and mental health. When tackling the topic of mental health and well-being, we mostly focus on the shortcomings and barriers, offering external support, but it is even more important to focus on talents and inner resources and giving perspective. So how do you build resilience and support young people's well-being? Using solution-focused approach, today we are going to discover it with our speaker, Lize Abrams. Lize is a youth worker coming from Belgium, Flanders, and she's working at Artkos. This is a center for general well-being. She works with young people from 12 to 13 years old at the individual level, but also in youth house, where young people can walk in their free time, and if they need to, they can also get different kind of services there, including a good chat with her. So without further ado, I pass the floor to Lize. Please, Lize, you have the floor now.
So welcome everyone to the ID talk about solutions and mental health. Here we go. So a small introduction. As Anna already said, I'm from Belgium, and I work at Arctos, which is a center expertise with people between the ages of 6 to 25 years old. We work with children, with teens, with young adults on various life stages in their free time, maybe even work or at school. And another organization I work for is in Dutch, the CAW, which translates to the Center for General Well-being. Also, I had a year-long education about the solution-focused practice. So I'm really looking forward to get to know you, and hopefully we'll pick some things and go ahead in the future. So a small check-in just to get into the solution-focused approach. Think back at your job, or maybe the education you're doing right now, and think back maybe 2 weeks at latest. At what moment were you really proud that you were doing your job, or that you got into your education? So think about that for a moment. Maybe you can write it down. Okay, if everybody got a moment that they were proud of themselves, maybe another question is, what do you hope to learn? So think about that for a second. What do you hope to get out of today? And what do you want to learn? So normally this exercise, I would do them in small groups, because why this question of your proudest moment? It helps you to connect with a truth and get you into a positive setting, which help you to focus during this presentation, but maybe when you're going to an education for your job, maybe 3 days long, when they start off with a proud moment at your job or in your life, you think back to something positive and true, which helps you to focus period of time. So the theme for today was actually solutions, and the solutions and mental health. The thing with solutions is you get the feeling that we're going to think of some solutions during conflicts between two people, but actually the solution-focused approach is more of giving perspective, giving people a more positive outcome or a more positive outlook on life, which helps to empower people, but also gives them the role of expert. So they get the feeling, okay, I can really do this. I have some things I can do already, and it's problem-free in a way. In the beginning, we talk with people 10 minutes long, problem-free, because when some people go to see a therapist, the thing you think is, okay, I'm going to a therapist and I'm going to talk about all my problems, which leads to a really heavy conversation. With the solution-focused approach, we actually start problem-free. How we gonna do that, I will come back to it later. But the problem-free approach helps you to really connect with the person that you're talking with, and helps to see them as really as a person with their strengths, with their resources, and you really get to know them as a human being and not as a vessel of problems. So the strengths and resources, people already had some problems or some hard times in life, and they learn from it. So we go back to those moments. What did you get out of it? But also, what did you already do that might work for you during this problem or during this hard time? And we're really connecting with the support system of people. So we're going on an individual level, but we also think that maybe the family or some really close friends, they are really important too in the solution-focused approach. I was planning to do a tiny video of my young people saying what they got out of the solution-focused approach, but they were not comfortable with it. So I just asked them, okay, maybe you can write down a few words or your experience of what you get out of the conversations. And what I heard a lot was that the youngsters got a more positive outlook on life. They had the courage to tackle their problems, or to talk to someone else about it, maybe a good friend or a mom or a dad. It was based off their own strengths, so they didn't have to do something totally new. They were maybe good at telling their opinions, so we got to check, okay, how are we going to do this even more, or how can this help you in this problem? They also said it was based on me, so it started always from them, not from other people's mindsets, but only from them. They got the chance to vent, so just let their heart out and talk to me. And they said that I asked the right questions, which means, and I can show you actually in this one. This is actually the whole verse a young person wrote to me, and he just said, you never gave me any advice, so it was never I would do this or I would do that, but I just got into, okay, who are you as a person? What do you want to learn and what is your goal? He also says it right here that I never set any goal for him. He just did it all himself. And just the right questions like, how are you going to work on blah, blah, blah. How did you experience something, or what does something especially mean for you? It helped him to reflect on himself and get his insights on how he can grow as a person, but what he already achieved also. And the last thing that he said, I think that's really just brilliant. I helped him rediscover himself after he thought he lost himself. He actually did lose himself, but tiny piece by piece, I helped him to get a more positive outlook on life. He said I helped him do that, but actually the young person did this for himself. I just helped him with the method, the asking of questions, the problem-free starting. So really getting to know, okay, what is your strength? What's something really good about you, and how can we empower that? So not so much focus on what's going wrong in your life, but what are the aspects that already are a little bit positive, and how can we get them to go a little more positive? So I really wanted to show this to you. Because we can't tackle the whole topic of solution focused practice during this presentation, I just got to do some tiny do's and don'ts, which I think are very important if you want to try the solution focused approach. And we're going to start with the do's. So something you heard me already telling is the starting strong, which actually means the problem-free talking. So if you go into a conversation with a young people, or maybe a kid or a teen or a young adult, take 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes of your time to get to know each other. What do they do as a job? What education are they doing? What are their hobbies? How do they like to spend their free time? But also, what do they like at school? What do they like about their job? Really getting to know them, because it helps you to get to know the other person, know which strengths they already have, and maybe get to know, okay, what other people are in your life? Do you have a best friend? Do you maybe have a partner? Do you still live with your parents? Because those can be really important figures in the life of someone. It also helps you to get a really strong connection with the person, because the thing with conversations with people is the bond you have is really important. And when you start off strong, getting to know each other, you already are building that bond, and the positive bond is actually really crucial for getting a positive outcome out of the conversations or the guidance. So that's one thing I would recommend you to start with, starting off strong, getting to know each other really deep, and really taking the time to focus on the things that are going well in life. Then the second thing is basic attitude, which is crucial in the solution focused practice. It's the attitude of not knowing. As social workers, as youth workers, we like to know, okay, we know everything. We can help you with this, we can help you with that. But the thing with the not knowing attitude is actually, getting disconnected from that. Because people have different meanings, different opinions about what do certain things mean for me. A big term about it is as a sorry, I'm not going on to the word, but maybe respect is a big term, and it means something different for everyone else. For me, it's something else than maybe it will be for Maria, or for Anna. So really getting to know, okay, what is respect for you? How do you see that in others? And what do you like people to do to you when they show you respect is a classic idea of how you can get into the not knowing attitude. So really getting to know, okay, what does certain things mean to you, and how do you see them? So getting disconnected from your own visions, from your own perspective, to getting to know what the other person really means. Then recognition is something that I would really recommend when some people talk about their problems, when things are really hard. Sometimes people talk about suicide plans or really dark thoughts. It's really important that you give themselves recognition about that. So, whoa, you're going through a really hard time. Putting that you keep on pushing, or that you're right here beside me, and you're wanting to talk about it. So that's a really important thing also. The most general thing in the solution focused practice is getting into the goals, the solutions. which young people actually find themselves. It's a way of asking your questions, which triggers some answers or some insights, as the young person described so good. And the thing I placed in red, so the positive, realistic, individual, measurable, and acceptable, are actually 5 factors which help you to get the person to a goal. With positive, we're trying to get the negative terms to a positive. So when someone says, I want to be less stressed about my job, maybe, then you can ask, okay, so if you're less stressed about it, what will be different? To really go to, okay, what makes it different, to go from the negative to the positive. So really get your client or a young person to get into the positive terms, the positive wording. A next thing is it has to be realistic. So a goal has to be realistic and possible to achieve. If a person recently got an accident, broke their legs, you cannot he's not going to walk in 2 weeks again. So that's not realistic. The thing with the goals is it has to be realistic for the person, but also in general, it has to be realistic to achieve. Then individual, we can only work with the person we're talking to. So we cannot solve the problems maybe mom is doing, or maybe dad is doing, or a good friend of or a partner is doing. We can only focus on the person that we're talking to. So it's really individual. And the goals have to go from I want to change, or I want this to change. Which sometimes is hard because some people think, okay, my mom is really getting onto my nerves and I want her to change. I want her to stop doing this, which is really hard to go to the individual part. What I try to do then is, okay, what if your mom just keeps doing the same things? So she's still getting onto your nerves, but over time you see yourself getting more happy or more at ease with it. What's so different about it then? So really focus on their own behaviors, their own thoughts, because thinking about maybe changing other people, it won't help at all. The next thing is measurable. The goals have to be measurable in a way of you have to see it happen. A feeling is not measurable. If a person wants to be, maybe I want to be more self-assured, then a way or a goal could be I want to give my opinion more often. I want to talk freely, and then you can go really tiny bits. Okay, so if you got there, what can you see yourself doing maybe in a week? So get into really small things that maybe can grow more bigger over time. But the thing is, it has to be behavioral because you can see it. Feelings, thoughts, it's not measurable, and it's really important that maybe other people can see what you are doing to really see that you are growing, and they can say that to you, like, okay, I see you doing this, and then you know, okay, I'm working towards my goal. The last thing is acceptable. The goal has to be acceptable for the person itself, but it also has to be something they really want to change. So that's really important for the do's. Then I also listed a tiny bit of don'ts. Really important is toss your why questions in the trash can, because why questions, they can be really offending for young people if you ask that. If someone does a certain thing and you ask, why did you do that? It can be really offending. So please don't do the why questions. And next one is suggestive or closed questions. With closed questions, I mean yes or no questions, because you can't really get any info about them, and they are not complimenting the person at all. And suggestive is actually a way that you're not showing your not knowing attitude, actually. Then the last thing I want to say as a don't is exploring the past, because we don't always need to know what was going on in the past. And it's a way that you can go to the problem talk very quickly. The quote I put there, leave no footprints, is actually a thing that can help you from exploring the past, because it's really not that necessary. We have to focus on the now, giving perspectives in the now and a more positive outcome. Okay, so that was for the input bit. I would recommend you all getting a piece of paper and a pen maybe for the exercise. So maybe a minute to get your pen and paper. Okay, so if everyone got their piece of paper and their pen before them, I would like to invite you to think of something that you really want to change in your life. It can be in your job, maybe in your free time, maybe the way you look at life. Just think of something that you really want to change right now. You can also write it down. Maybe that will be easier if you write it down. Okay, so for the next part, you just got to the theme you want to change. You can draw a scale from 1 to 10, and then you imagine the best possible outcome. So the thing you really want to change in your life, imagine the best possible outcome it could be, and mark this as a 10. So you can write down at a 10 what the best possible outcome is. Okay, so if everyone marked their best possible outcome as a 10, you can now think, okay, this best possible outcome is a 10, but where am I at now? So maybe you're at a 2, maybe you're at a 5. Just put down your mark where you are now. Okay, if everyone did that, we're going to head up to the next part, which is really good job. Maybe you're at a 1, maybe you're at a 3, maybe you're further towards a 10, but it actually meant that you already are doing some tiny bits of what you are wanting to become more of, or what your best possible outcome is. So you're already doing some tiny bits, maybe a little bit more, but maybe just a tiny bit. So you're doing great. Now you're going to think about your numbers. So you just marked your place. Maybe you're at a 3, maybe you're at a 5, maybe you're at a 7. I don't know. But think about it, and what's in this number? So what are you already doing? Maybe there are some things that you notice about yourself, or maybe there are some things that other people can see you doing. So really take your time for this one. The questions are going to be up here, so check back, take your notes, and really take your time. Okay, if everyone got this, we're moving on to the next part, which is maybe you're now at a number 6, but think about, where do you want to go next? So what is your next step? Maybe you want to grow towards from a 6 towards a 7. Maybe you want to go even a bit more further, or you want your 2 or 3 to become a 4. Mark that number as well. And then you can think about what is so different in this number than it was to your previous number. So what will be the differences if you grow that tiny bit? Maybe you want to grow 2 numbers, maybe you want to grow just 1, or maybe you're just fine with the way it is now. But think about what is different between the two, and who can know that you want to grow or change, and what will you see yourself doing differently? Okay, if you're not done already, just take your time. That's totally fine. For the persons or the people that are already done, we can move on to the next. If it is working, there we go. The next part, I want you to think about maybe a really tiny idea, a small idea that you are willing to try in the next next few weeks, maybe the next month. So think about a tiny idea. Which tiny step can you take already to try? You can also write that down if you'd like. And the next question is, how much do you trust your idea to succeed? You can rate this too from a 1 to a 10. With how much do you trust it that you can maybe try your idea or that it will work. It doesn't have to work. Maybe you can come up with a new idea. But just rate this one from a 1 to a 10. Okay, so I hope everyone is done with the questions. Maybe not, that's fine too. This was actually the scaling method, and it helps me to talk with people that want to get to a goal, but it's really difficult to get it into a small goal. So maybe they have their team yet. They want to be more self-assured, but they don't know how they can do it or don't know where to start. I do this one. So I get the team that they are wanting to change. So maybe it will be the self-assuredness, and I put that as a 10. And then I ask the person, okay, so if you're being more self-assured is a 10, where are you at now? Just as I let you do this exercise, really get to know, okay, what's in it now? Maybe they put themselves at a 3, and I ask them, okay, so what's in it now? What do you see yourself doing right now? What are you already doing? Because I always believe there are tiny bits that they're already doing, just not in every situation. And I try to get to a specific situation where they already had the idea, okay, I was a bit more self-assured about myself. It can be with friends, it can be at home with the parents, and I dive into that situation. Also get to know their strengths about it, what could maybe help them to grow more towards a 10. Then also, as I did with you, I like to ask the question, okay, so maybe you're now at a 3. Where do you want to grow to? And maybe they say a 4. Some want to take a really big step and put that at a 7 or an 8. And then also the same questions, okay, what will be different about it? Who can know that you want to change it, or who can see you trying to change it, because the support network, as I mentioned in the beginning, is really important. But you can also ask questions through them. So maybe if they have a best friend, you can ask the question as the eyes of the best friend. So maybe you can ask, okay, so if your best friend is called Anne, okay, if you're getting more self-assured, what will Anne see you doing differently? Because that way they can think differently than when you're asking the questions. And then the idea is a really helpful thing, actually. So you can ask the person, what is the tiniest step or the tiniest idea you already have, and do you trust yourself enough to try it, or do you trust yourself to succeed? So I use it a lot, actually. The numbers are not important. It's just the conversation that comes from it. So you don't have to pinpoint the 5 or the 3 or the 7. The numbers are not important at all.
Lisa, do you hear us?
Yeah, now I do. I think my internet connection went off.
Oh, great. I think you're back on. And then
Okay, good.
we see a new slide from you.
Okay. Did you miss anything from what I was saying about the scaling? Or
Probably not.
did you
No,
got
it just
everything?
went off for a brief moment, but you are back now. And then maybe
Okay.
you explained about the importance of the tiny changes and this conversation starting from different perspectives. So maybe you can continue at this slide because we didn't miss much.
Okay. Okay. The last thing I said was that the numbers were not important. So the 3 or the 4s or
Yes.
the 6, they're not important. So that was the bit that I wanted to close the scaling method with. If you're thinking, okay, maybe this solution focused practice is something for me, I want to get started with it. I could really recommend you doing tiny changes into your conversations, with the key points being the questions. So keep them open, and avoid the why questions because I just toss them in the trash can, and the suggestive questions because they can also not help the young person or the client at all. And start with the problem-free talk. Really taking those 5 to 10 minutes to get to know the other person, to yeah, just get to know each other and know what they like to do in their free time, what they like to do at school, maybe their favorite teacher, or a really good colleague of them. Really take your time for the problem-free talk. And another thing is the not knowing attitude. So if you could start with one of those three, maybe all three, you're getting a really good start. And if you want to read about it, I have 2 recommendations on the books. The first one is actually Evan George, and I had an educational day with him into my education, and it was really good. And the next one is the next generation of solution focused practice, and it tackles the idea of where can we go to next, because a solution focused brief therapy from the first book, it's a tiny bit older. So in the second book you can go to the new way of thinking. So those 2 books I really recommend, those 2, if you want to learn more about the solution focused practice. Then there is room for questions if there are any.
Our captain is our man Albin. He's our representative. So it is introduced. Standing ovation for him, and the stage is yours, Albin.
Wonderful.
Well, I'm really not. Thank you, Milos. But
It was a really great introduction.
yeah, he was. Thank you for the energy and so. But we had a very thoughtful conversation about the presentation. I think our aha moment is we kind of all agree about the fact that it's very, very practical, and you can actually do the exercises with the youth that encounters problems and they want to change. And so they have like very much simple and basic things to kind of agree and be get one point to another point, and etc. and etc. And we can help them get through this, this process. And our question is the is more in linked with the starting of the presentation when Liz, you talked about the don'ts, and we had the question of the why being a don't, and we kind of agree that it is very important to not ask the question of the why at the beginning of the focus and the process, but inevitably at a certain point. But I'm a bit biased because I'm a psychologist also, and I work with youth in Belgium also. But it's at some point the question about the why can nourish the evolution and the process of the changing. And our question was actually this: do you think the why can be implemented in this process also, or do you think it's really not a good thing to do? this more a broad question, huh? Yeah.
Okay, but I got your question. The thing is, I'm not the expert on solution-focused practice. But in my education program for a year, it was trained not to use the why question, because other questions starting with what or how or who, when are more important than why questions. You can still ask your why questions, but you have to how do you say it? You have to ask your question differently, because why can be a little offending and asking for explanations, and it's not the role of the client you're with to explain themselves. So do you maybe have an example of a why question?
Yeah, I think the way I looked at it, it wasn't more about the as the I don't know, the person that is following the youth, to ask them, why are you wanting to change? It's more about in the process of actually acknowledging the fact that they want to change. If they arrive at a certain point in the process and they ask themselves the why questions, it was more about, oh, how are we should we like avoid the question and the topic, or should we actually follow through the actual own questioning? You see, if they say, okay, I do want to change, but actually I ask myself, how am I so in difficulties with the schooling, for example, with school and going to school and having these bad results or not wanting to go to school, and being, in the process, being very focused on the evolution and the changing, and about the process. But if they ask themselves the why question, should we actually put it aside or no? That's what I was actually thinking. Like, I don't know if the person in my group actually thought about this way. I'm very sorry. I feel like I'm taking the whole, so do interrupt me if you want. So
no, okay,
that's we do have quite some time, so if somebody else wants to also jump in from the group, no problem. Please, Lize.
So it was actually a really good question. When the client is questioning themselves or their own behavior, it's totally fine to follow it, because it's actually another basic attitude I didn't mention in the presentation. It's follow or leading from one step behind. So you have to follow your client or your person that you're talking with in their story. It's really important to follow their story. So when they ask themselves the why questions, why is it important to me, or why am I doing this certain thing that really doesn't benefit me at all, it's totally fine to follow it. It's just how you ask your next questions is something that you have to think about wisely, so that you don't offend them. It's actually, in a solution-focused practice, not our role or not our goal to explain behaviors, but it's more a way to show people, okay, there's another way to think about this. We can have a more positive outlook and go away from the problem focus. That's actually what solution-focused practice is about. So if the person himself or herself asks why questions, want to know what's going on, you can still go through with it. So there's no right or wrong in that sort of thing. It's just the why questions, as in, why are you doing this, or why did you do that? That's those questions I would like you to avoid.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
So I hope that was an answer to the question. If not, ask away.
No, I think you completely answered the question. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Maybe we can also ask the other group if they brought some questions or comments with them. Please feel free to take the floor and ask.
I have one question
Please,
for
Milos.
Lize. About, for example, when you're having the intervention with some client or some kid, how you're doing the monitoring of transition when he made a goal, he wants to put some new habits in his life, how you're following it, and what is the indicators that he is doing something about that, and that he is really enough empower himself to watching himself, to pushing himself, and so on and so on. So from the point A to the point B, how you're going through all the triggers he has to go through.
Okay, so I don't actually monitor it myself, because in the youth house where people can walk in to have a chat with me, some are just coming for one conversation and then I never see them again, and some come every 2 weeks. The thing is, there's no right or wrong for us as the facilitators. Or as the youth worker, actually. It's all coming from the young person or your client. So the thing is, in the conversation, we have to set our goal really clearly, which those 5 factors work for the positive, the realistic, individual, measurable, and acceptable. Because really the measurable is going to help the client to notice the things that he will be doing differently. So if he or she is growing towards their goal, they will notice those small changes. And when I see them the next time, so maybe it will be in 2 weeks, maybe it will be in a month, my first question is, so how is it going? How is it going now? Or is it going better now? Something in that way, because then I'm firstly going to think there are some positive changes, and he or she will tell them first, and then we can go to, okay, what was still difficult, what was not going good, what did actually really go good, and then we can zoom in on, okay, the goal is really big. Sometimes young people tend to make their goal really big and not start with really small changes. So the next conversation you're having is actually to help the person to see it maybe a tiny bit smaller, or just maybe changing it up a little bit. So to monitor, it's hard for us to keep track of it, but some young people or some clients really like to do it in a journal, or like to make their own plan or goal setting and keep track on it. So for me personally, I don't like to track it myself. I just like it to come from the client. But if that's how you like to work, that you keep track, that's totally fine too. So maybe you can write down the small changes that they want to do, maybe their best idea with the scaling method. So the idea they're wanting to try, maybe you can write that down, and then the next conversation you're having, or maybe when you're sending him or her a text, you can ask, okay, so how did it go? How is it going right now? So that's how you maybe can monitor it if you would like to.
Thank you. Excellent. Perfect.
Talk, but for today, I think we are slowly going to start closing the ID talk of today. And for that reason, we will do something that always everybody is looking forward to and forgetting about at the same time. There is graphic recorder Olaja in the background that has been working all this time. And I think we are really ready now, Olaja, to see what notes have you taken, what visual notes have you taken. And maybe you could share them with us before we close the day.
So these are the first glimpse, I would say, of today's talk. So I like how it happened that usually the visual notes follow a similar path or get the similar tone as the talk itself. So yeah, today it's quite powerful and quite bungee from one side to the other, with tips and tricks and with some exercises and with very short and concise messages that Lize wanted to share with us today. So this is a little bit what went out of this 40 minutes, 20 of the talk, and then plus the exercises that we did. And yes, so we have a few strategies, I would say, to try in our work and see also where they lead us and where they lead the youngsters that we work with. And from the side of the visual recording, as usual, I will still do a little revision, and you will receive the final version in your emails directly. So thank you for this.
Thank you so much, Olaja. It's really nice to see this 1 hour conversation condensed on one visual note. And now I would like to pass the floor back to you, Lize, if you'd like to say something as your final words, maybe some recommendations, conclusions, whatever you would like us to leave today's talk with.
So I think the graphic note was a really good summary of what we tackled today. Just really keep curious about the topic. Do your research if you want to try, and do the small, tiny things. That's the important note of today, I think. Start small and see where you're going. Just keep the person that you're talking with or guiding with, keep him or her as a center, and start off strong with the strengths of the person and not problems. That's the thing that I want to end with for you.
Thank you very much, Lize. I think this is a powerful message, even in our everyday conversations with other people, and in these difficult times, to keep a positive outer look and to also empower each other. This is so useful and so important that you reminded us today multiple times. Before we all leave, I would like to pass the floor to Maria from SALTO Inclusion and Diversity Resource Center to close officially this year's topic on mental health and well-being, but also maybe to bring us some interesting news from the future. Please.
Yes, because I can read the future. So yeah, we are closing the year. It went really quickly. I really just want to thank you all for being with us, not only this autumn, but I know that some of you attended also first 5 talks in the spring on mental health. I really hope you got some insights on how to take better care of your own mental health, but also how to support the well-being of young people you are working with. And also with the last 5 talks, how maybe to implement some new practices or to improve your daily practices in working with young people and addressing the mental health issues. I want also to thank Lize and all the amazing guest speakers that we had this year. 10 people share their time and knowledge and expertise with all of us. And yeah, I want to thank also the team for doing this for the 3rd year. But this is, thank you, Milos. But this is not over yet. We will be back in 2024 from February to April with 5 new talks and a different topic. We will be looking into interfaith dialogue. That's all what I can share at the moment. We are now together with the team discussing the topics and also getting the contacts of the potential speakers. So I'm really excited about the topic. We think it's really needed, especially nowadays. It might be also very sensitive to talk about that, but we hope we will manage to do it. I don't know, Anna, do I pass it back to you or?
No,
you
just
all.
Officially close and wish us something nice.
Yeah, so I can also wish you already all the best in 2024. But we will follow up this still with 1 or 2 emails in November. So we will share the outcomes of Lize's talk from today. So there will be an article, as you know how it goes. And there will be the visual graphic note that we will share with you. And then later in November, we will compile all the articles from this season in an IDtalks magazine, which is turning into a huge book, actually. I think we have 30.
It's idtalks encyclopedia.
Yes, 30 or 30 plus articles in the idtalks magazine, but we think it's a convenient to have all of them and in one document that you can just download and consult or consult it online. So that's what will be shared with you in November, and then somewhere, I guess, January, maybe even mid-December, but I guess it will be mid-January when we will announce the new season and launch the new call for participants. You will be invited to register again and to join us from February to look into interfaith dialogue, what it is, why it's important. So yeah, thank you all, and have a nice day, and do something nice and small today for yourself, but also for people you care about, or just for a stranger. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.